You crafty player, you. Hey, this is Notser, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Tier 9 Pan-Asian light cruiser, Sejong. This is available as of 11.0 in early access via a random container reward or bundle or whatever they're calling it. It costs 1,000 doubloons, and you have a 1 in 60 chance to get this to drop. Now, the best case scenario, of course, is 1,000 doubloons. The worst case scenario is 60,000 doubloons, and this is not worth 60,000 doubloons. It is certainly not worth it at all. But, you know, if you randomly get it, that's a pretty good deal. 1,000, 2,000, or whatever small amount. And you get a pretty nice Tier 9. And it flows very similarly to that of the Jinan, the Tier 10 that we just covered yesterday. So I'm going to showcase a game, talk about the playstyle, talk about the situation, and what I'm looking to do. Hopefully this answers any questions for you if you would like to explore the line further, or hopefully this just gives you more information to better deal with the line itself if you ever run up against it. Now, you'll notice we've got high explosive, armor piercing, deep water torpedoes, depth charges, damage control, a smoke, defensive AA, torpedo reload, and a heal. This is exactly the same as the Tier 10. It even has 127 as the Tier 10. This is going to be played very similarly to the Tier 10. Now, if you didn't watch the Tier 10 video, one of the things that I talked about is you cannot rush towards the objective at the beginning. Because if you do that, you are vulnerable to being spotted. And if this ship and the line itself is spotted, well, I can just tell you from experience that every battleship will shoot at you, and you will lose 80% of your life at best, and all of it at worst. So definitely discourage you from being detected. Now, in this matchup, you might notice there is one aircraft carrier and there is one destroyer. And the enemy destroyer was spotted on the east side of the map, as is the enemy aircraft. So by that information alone, I am comfortable pushing up. We have a friendly aircraft carrier also spotting on this flank. So this is quite literally the perfect situation for Sejong to push up, get in torpedo range, and affect the map. Now, you know, we're not a DD. Certainly not a DD. But we can do stuff that a DD does because we have smoke, because we have torpedoes, because we have all these different tools that are great for that. So I decided let's move up on A side since we confirm that there aren't superior concealed ships close by. And we're going to get in torpedo range so that we can affect the western flank. This is very typical on this map where multiple battleships and cruisers decide to push up on the left side. And in doing so, they will be, making use of the islands. So obviously we can't torpedo into the islands, but we can torpedo in forward position and the rear position of the islands. And of course, while I was doing that, I decided, okay, we're going to get into the cap, and if I need to, I will activate smoke, and then I will open fire. And I actually got into a situation where I could use my deep water torpedo along with the torpedo reload booster. So we have a very efficient use of torpedo on this particular side of the map, where we are obviously stalling these ships and hoping that they won't, well, I'm hoping that they push up and run smack into the torpedoes and die, of course, but that's not what torpedoes are generally going to be used for. Generally, they are more useful for screening and impacting the enemy's position and hopefully taking advantage of that. But we did actually successfully capture this entire base, which is really cool. And we actually are going to get not one, not two, not three, but 4 torpedoes on one of these ships. And I decide, okay, maybe we'll send some more. That was the other torpedo on the port side. And remember, we used our torpedo reload booster. Now, I did get too close, and I am body spotted. So I decide, okay, let's activate smoke, and let's open up. The enemy obviously was set a flood on it whenever my torpedoes landed on him, so he's used damage control. So that's going to set up a brilliant dot combo where we get 1, maybe 2 fires, and he burns down, and the rest is history. Team's dead. Good. So this is really the bread and butter of this line. You know, find a flank where you are not immediately impacted. Get whatever you can from your position, whether it's taking a base or farming damage, and use your torpedoes to discourage the initial push by the opposing team. And, you know, it works out really good. And you get 1 good torpedo landing on a battleship, you know, it's basically going to end in his life sinking. You know, it's very, very tough. And we're just trying to catch this guy as he's retreating. It looks like he's going to flood out. Or fire. He's going to burn out. He's going to be doused in water to a point where he drowns, even though he's on fire. Notser, yes. We take out that target. We actually got the kill that time. And we've already racked up 66,000 damage. Unfortunately, the friendly DD has been killed. So now we have to deal with the fact that there is a opposing DD that's doing whatever he wants to do. And nice, we actually get the last shot on the enemy Alaska B. The Alaska was the one ship that I was afraid of from radar, but between the torpedoes and my team on this flank and aircraft spotting, he was vulnerable the entire time, and it led to his downfall. Now, we know, obviously my team limbing, or I guess this is an official push, on the west side. The east side is a mirror in the reverse for the enemy team. So they have a lot of success pushing up. It looks like they have a DD that's capturing C point. I figure the next logical step for me is to crash down west to east, capturing B point, assisting my team with anti-air. And we have a Roosevelt, an FDR, which is one of the most annoying aircraft in the game, but not for this ship. Not in the same way that it is annoying for ships that might be all in on their continuous damage rather than having flak bursts or anything like that. I don't really feel vulnerable to this guy, so I'm going to obviously keep my A turned on and activate defensive AA to try and wear out some of his aircraft. He does ultimately pull away and go towards a different area of the map. Can't really control that. So as we're pushing up, I'm glad that I'm not actually spotted, because if I was spotted, most likely these ships would love to shoot me. And I don't like that. So it's nice that the aircraft pulled back, allowed me to continue my push towards B point, with the ultimate goal, of course, let's cap B and let's harass players around the island without being spotted. And he does get 1 shot off while spotted. Again, every shell that come towards you, say a little prayer. Hopefully it doesn't find your signal. That's really all you can do. But we were successful in creating a line of sight situation. Teammate, unfortunately, is taking torpedoes. And I did confirm, I think that Yamato was around the island pretty low, so obviously I would love to shoot him, but I can't right now. As we're pushing up, though, we notice, hey, there's a DD. He's pushed up. I might have pretty crappy guns, but I can do damage to a DD. So as we're pushing up, obviously the aircraft carrier with his dive bomb. Our AA is good. We just don't have defensive AA. Otherwise, we would have wiped this out completely before it would get any drop-off. But he does try to drop a friendly. Okay, you know, I can't stop that. I can only wear it out quickly so that it can't continue. Friendly aircraft carrier actually got the DD, so that's really good for us. That means there's only 1 ship in the game, in this match, that can spot us before we can spot it, and that's the aircraft carrier, of course. So I can be a little aggressive in this situation, so I'm going to push up, actually, knowing that I have smoke, knowing that I have torpedoes, and knowing that this guy is pretty vulnerable to not only from the aircraft carrier, which is just parked just to the north, but I am potentially, I can get in a position and I can take care of him as well. So we have defensive AA once again, and you see it wears out so much that he actually tried to activate the squadron to provide that little bit of protection. But we are kind of surprised by this big battleship, Hanover, and also a ship is radaring through this cyclone. I believe it is Alexander Nevsky. So he has a 12-kilometer range, 30-second or so radar. So I need to try and stay bow in so that his AP can't punish us too much, and obviously avoid line of sight. Looks like the Hanover probably is using hydroacoustic, so I will need to, yep, there you go, see it on our screen. I will need to consider that from my position, because obviously he can see me with his hydro. The Alexander Nevsky cannot anymore because radar is done. So it is actually safer for me to sail towards that target than to continuously back up, because it does present, if the Hanover continues to push up, he will, of course, rotate around the island and get a perfect broadside, and we'll be knocked out real quick. There's a lot of little subtle positioning that's necessary for this line, and this is a perfect example of it. So he's, of course, pushing up, and I am recognizing that he does have that passive activated secondary. You can tell by the searchlight when they're turned on. That means that he's benefiting from that effect. Yeah, right on the smokestack. So obviously he's broadside. I don't quite have my torpedoes available. So take a look at how quickly we melt to these secondaries. We started out the game, or this situation, this scenario, with like 15, 18,000. And it was literally the worst possible thing we could choose to do, is try and go toe-to-toe with this guy. He rams, and he almost got a second kill just passively with secondaries. So clearly secondaries are very good against this line, for obvious reasons. We lack a lot of armor. So you don't want to do something like that, where you're under hydro and trying to use your torpedoes before they're ready. You know, it's just a misplay there. And it costs us dearly, because now I cannot afford to be as aggressive as I was. And it's just because of a misplay by me. And, you know, it's frustrating. It's something that I wish I never made that mistake. But at least you guys got to see it, and got to see it with your own eyes. Wow. Don't take secondary damage too much, too fast, yes. So we moved up. Enemies are still outside of vision because we are still in Cyclone. I am under radar effect again. But we do actually get outside of Alexander Nevsky's range. Unfortunately, that does mean that the Montana's under radar, or he's just straight up spotted. So I ended up using my torpedo reload booster. I sent my initial set along the area of those two ships in the south, and I used the second set to do further forward as they're progressing towards the Montana, hoping to help him, of course. And obviously while we're doing this, we're pushing up, and oh my god! Look at this guy. He is so low. I make a critical mistake, though. I activate my smoke, expecting to instantly die. And in fact, it ends up being a complete waste because the teammates take out Sevastopol. So all I'm doing is denying myself direct line of sight to finish off a low health target. So we've made a couple misplays, but if we get one last salvo, this could be enough to win the game. All right, it's not quite enough to win the game, not to, but we did kill the aircraft carrier, and now we can just farm some aircraft with our defensive AA, which, you know, it's going to look really nice with all that aircraft shot down. AA is not its weakness, not at all. So we're going to cap the base. We are thankfully going to avoid the torpedoes, and we're going to have 3 bases to their 2. There are a couple enemy ships that appear to be shadowing us. So I am going to send my torpedoes, which are of course back up because we do have adrenaline rush and torpedo reload, which makes it very comical how fast they come up without the torpedo reload booster. So we're going to send on our port side. We still have starboard torpedoes, which I could conceivably use for whatever situation might come up. You know, I don't know exactly where these 2 ships are because of Cyclone. They've remained undetected for very long from my position. The Montana was taken out, so I don't really have a good gauge on what to expect. And I am recovering my health. You know, we're getting back up to 50%. It's not a lot of health, admittedly, but we do get to benefit from the friendly spotting. And, oh, almost made a misplay there. We did have direct line of sight as Cyclone was dissipating, and it could have led to a little bit of damage from Alexander Nevsky. But thankfully, he is behind an island, so I can freely fire, and our smoke consumable is actually coming off a cooldown. So we're in a prime position to finish out this game. We've got 3 bases. These targets are spotted. I don't need to spot them. I can just go ham on them. Friendly finish off the only other target that was spotting me for that brief moment, but I can continuously push into Alexander Nevsky and hopefully, lead him as he's sailing away. You'll clearly see the weakness of these American guns, where they have horrible gun velocity, and it's very hard to catch up with a ship that is sailing directly away from you. So you have to give a lot of lead and pray for some dots. But as long as we get a couple dots, we got one. We actually incapacitate the torpedo. Did he deactivate? Oh, we got another one. Nice. Okay, so he's going to burn down. He actually dies, and that's the game. So that was the Tier 9 Pan-Asian Light Cruiser. Worked out very nicely. We played it very well, and exactly as described both in the previous video and this one, cautiously aggressive. And, we made a couple mistakes that nearly cost us our life. Small mistakes are really big mistakes in these type of ships, but, overall the game played out nicely. Really good showcase of Sejong. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.